Hi, my name is Lisa Wislick. I'm the founder of a Cleft Mommy's Bond of Friendship. The reason why I founded this organization, this Facebook group, is because I'm a mom of a son that was born with a cleft palate. It was a birthday surprise. When he was 2 days old, we found out when they inserted a feeding gavage that he was born with a cleft palate. I have never felt so confused, so lost, so guilty that my baby was born with a cleft and I didn't know anything. I remember going through his palate repair and feeling so lost and alone and unaware of what was going to happen. So, of course, I went to Facebook and I started asking questions and I started looking for Facebook groups, and I met a few moms, but I never really got the answers that I needed because the wonderful moms that I met had children around the same age who were going through the same surgeries. So I thought to myself, I could probably start a group. I don't know much, but I can learn. What if I did? I had heart. I had the momentum. I had the love for wanting to start this group. So I created on a whim a Cleft Mommy's Bond of Friendship, and my goals in this group were to make sure that every single mom had their answers, had support, had love. They can post any question they wanted, and even if we didn't know the answer, we were going to let them know it was okay, that we're here, we don't know the answer because we're going through the same exact thing. And it started out as a group and it became a family. And that was nearly 10 years ago. So today I'd like to share with you things that I've learned from my own son's cleft journey. I'd like to share things with you that I've learned from thousands of surgeries that I have witnessed, from their lip repair and palate repair to the older years. I'm going to focus on those first initial surgeries, their lip repair and their palate repair and tubes and feeding gavages. The biggest thing is expressing to the moms and the families that you're not alone. You are going to go through a roller coaster of emotions. You are going to get hit with a lot of questions from family, from neighbors, from schools, from everywhere. And you're going to hear comments that you don't like or you feel comfortable with. You're going to feel so overwhelmed and lost and scared and bitter. And it is a roller coaster of emotions. You go through a lot. That's normal. I've gone through it. I remember the early years blaming myself for so much. I remember feeling embarrassed when I took my son to any public area. I was embarrassed because here I am propping my son up to feed him with this bottle that does not look like any other bottle that any mom has ever used before, and self-conscious and embarrassed and having people look at me and question me, and that's not how you feed babies, and what is this woman doing, and why is there stuff coming out of his nose? And that's something that I learned for myself, and I want to express to fellow families that it's normal, it's natural, we go through it, but what I learned is how to deal with it. And how I learned is, first of all, there's nothing wrong with our kids. Our babies are gorgeous, our babies are strong, they're resilient, they're amazing, they're beautiful, they're perfect. If you have that, you can do this. And if somebody looks at you and says, what happened to your baby? Or somebody looks at you and says, why are you feeding your baby that way? Or questions anything, take that moment to educate and advocate. If they're ugly and they're with their words and they're rude and they're just staring and making faces, you don't need to deal with that. You don't need to, we're above that. The cleft community is above that ugliness. We can ignore that and we just educate them. When somebody says something just out of curiosity and they want to learn, tell them, teach them. Don't feel embarrassed, because there's nothing to be embarrassed about. You know, with younger siblings and babies or family members that are younger, to explain to them why your baby has a cleft in a very simple explanation. You know, when the baby was growing in my belly, things didn't form properly and there's developmental delays, or this cleft occurred, but baby is perfect. Look at how cute baby is. Look at how cute. Look at that smile. Look at the twinkling eyes. Look at that wide smile. So beautiful, and with such pride and such love that you have for your baby. The people that are asking the questions and wondering should hop on that. They should take in that. They should understand that. And if they don't, those are the people you don't need in your life. It's hard to do sometimes because it's family, and sometimes families need a few years, and sometimes you need time to just focus on your baby. I hate that there is ugliness in the world, and I hate that people do that. But rise above. We can do this. Rise above. Educate and advocate. And the reason why it's a team is because it's a lifelong journey of surgeries and speech and so on and so forth. And what I do with pregnant moms and what I do with those moms that just have little newborns is I prepare you as best I can with my own experiences and helping so many families over the years, that we have a list of questions when you're pregnant or your first meeting, where you can go in and talk to the surgeon and find out what type of cleft does my baby have? What kind of surgeries is my baby going to have? What do you expect in the future? And I say, from mom to mom, make sure you have a rapport with this doctor. It is okay to go and find another doctor. Ask other moms, do your research. You are going to have this team for years. Do not research and do not Google. I say that to everyone, and that's our first instinct. My baby has a cleft, blah, 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 blah. Don't do it, because you're not going to find all the information that you need. You're going to find too much information. You're going to be overwhelmed, and you're going to say, Google said that my baby needs this, so I need that. Every single cleft affected child will have a different path. And it's very important that you only listen to your doctors, go with your instincts, go with what you know, go with what you learn, and find a fellow cleft mom, cleft family, someone who's been there, who can tell you, that's normal, that's natural, don't worry about it. So you are prepared for what comes ahead. I wasn't prepared when my son had his palate repair. Ryan was 13 months old when he had his palate. Typically, they do palate repair between anywhere from 8 or 9 months up until 2 years. Ryan was 13 months because he was failure to thrive, so they wanted him to be a little bit bigger when he had his surgery. I went into surgery, and they said, oh, it's going to be this amount of time, go in the waiting room. So my husband and I sat in the waiting room, and I watched the clock. Surgeon said an hour and a half. It's an hour and 40 minutes. Oh God, it's an hour and 50 minutes. It's 2 hours. And that mom anxiety comes in. What's going on? Something went wrong. Oh my gosh, what happened? It was almost 3 hours. And the nurse came and got me. Here for Ryan, me. We're walking down the hallway to the little post-op area. And I said something to the nurse. How is he doing? Is he okay? And she said, actually, we came to get you because we're having a hard time waking him up. What? What? What do you mean? She says, he needs to hear your voice. So we went in, and it was maybe a 10 by 10 room, and all the beeping and the devices, and he had his IV and a pulse ox monitor and a Band-Aid on his leg for something. And I sat in a little rocker, and they handed me Ryan. Or at least they told me this was Ryan. Because what I had was this baby whose face was so swollen. There was dried blood around his mouth. He was kind of moaning. And they put him in my arms. And I looked at my husband and I said, I can't do this. In the moment I did that, almost immediately when I did that, he heard my voice and he'd moan and let it out a cry. When he did that, there's something from above, the powers that be, God, my adrenaline, I don't know what it was, but something just entered my body that gave me such strength. And it was as soon as I finished saying I can't do this, it completely flipped and I felt so strong. And I'm looking at my Ryan and he's struggling, but he's fighting, and how strong he is. And that just gave me such strength that I never knew that I had, just to talk to him and mommy's here and you're okay and don't worry about it. And then having him be admitted and figuring out how to feed him. I didn't know what to expect. I didn't know how long we were going to be there. I didn't know what post-op was going to be like. I thought in my head, oh great, this is the only time we have to go through this. Once this is done, we're done. My own experience is why I educate and support families so wholeheartedly before you go in there. You need to know, as hard as it is you need to know what's going to happen post-op. You need to know your baby is going to struggle incredibly with feeding. You need to know that your baby is going to be swollen beyond belief, and it'll get worse before it gets better. You need to know that your baby needs to be propped up. At Cleft Mommy's Bond of Friendship, and the moms that we have and the support that we give, there's almost a family for every single type of surgery and scenario. It's very rare that we come across something that we've never done that before, we don't know, we can't help you, but we're always supportive. And we offer things from our packing list for the hospital. We prepare you with a list of ideas for post-op foods and liquids. I have tons of tips and tricks for post-op. One of my favorite ones is they say, dance on your head. Your baby is Cleft strong. Your baby is amazing. Your baby is the most gorgeous thing. Remember that. I strongly recommend every family do a photo shoot before that baby has surgery. Whether that baby has a cleft lip or a cleft palate. I have 3 pictures of Ryan's cleft palate. And I see other people that have really good cleft palate pictures, and I'm like, I wish I had that. I wish I had that for me. I wish I had that for him. I wish I had more hospital pictures. I have 1 hospital picture. It's a scary time. It's an overwhelming time. But it is a time that is the beginning of your child's cleft journey. You're going to want that child, when they're older, they're going to want to know. At some point in their life, they're going to have questions, and they're going to want to see pictures. And, we'll remember a little bit of what happened, but you may not have every single detail. And those photos really help that memory and help to show your cleft child, who's now an adult, so they can educate others, they can advocate for themselves. Get the pictures, take the pictures. Have somebody else taking the pictures. Have that photo shoot. Find a photographer who understands. Don't edit my baby's lip. Don't edit the swelling. Don't edit this. Surgery is the hardest part of the cleft journey. But even harder is post-op. As I had mentioned, being prepared for what your baby is going to look like post-op is very important because it's a very emotional moment. I prepare you as much as I can, but I also want you to be prepared how to feed them, to ask your surgeon specifically, what are the requirements my baby needs to be discharged? Usually it's pain management. Usually it's how many calories are they taking in? And a lot of times it's one night in the hospital. I've seen up to a week or two. Every scenario is different. We have a list of post-op liquids and soft foods. We also have tips and tricks on getting your baby to eat and drink. I also say, very importantly, if you're in the hospital for a few days and your baby is just not getting there, it does not hurt to ask your surgeon, can we be discharged? A lot of times the babies just want to be home. I mean, we all know as adults, when you go to the hospital, IVs are the worst thing. They're uncomfortable, they hurt, and when you're trying to eat and maneuver and you have this wire and don't want to pull it out, imagine being an infant. And plus you're in the hospital. Those beds are not the most comfortable thing. And you're in the hospital. You can't sleep because of the dings, the bells, the people in the hallway. Well, if we can't handle that as adults, put yourself in a baby's scenario and they don't know what's going on and they don't know why they're there. So simply ask, can I take my baby home on the terms that if they're not improving at home and they're not taking their bottle or whatever it is that you're using to feed them post-op, that you will return. And so many times moms take their kids home. Within an hour of being home, guess what? My baby just drank a whole bottle. And that's great, but I'll let you know, don't let them take the whole bottle because it'll come right back up. And that's normal. And blood coming back up with it, that's normal as long as it's not bright red. I am not a nurse. I'm not a doctor. I am a mom that has been through 7 surgeries with my son and countless surgeries with other people. I have learned dry blood and the blood from the surgery, they do spit it up. It does still come out their nose if they have their palate repair, and we all know that palate kiddos, their nose is just a tunnel. Like that formula comes out and everything comes out, and we know that. It does not correct itself the moment they have surgery. It's still healing. I believe my son took 2 or 3 months post-op. So don't look for that to happen right away. Take a few days off of work. Keep your baby propped up. I highly recommend a humidifier, a cool mist humidifier. They're so dry. I recommend keeping them propped up. My son slept on my husband sitting up in a reclined couch for a week post-op. Ask about the meds. One thing that I do and a lot of other moms do is get a chart. You are going to have an antibiotic, you'll have Tylenol and Motrin, you could have a mouth rinse. Chart it, because while you're sleep deprived and you're taking care of your baby, oh shoot, did I do the 11 o'clock dose? Oh shoot, did we do the middle of the night dose? Staying on top of that pain management is a key factor in their recovery. You are going to see their lip repair is usually 2 to 4 months, pretty early on. And the palate repair, because it's closer to the year, you want to ask your surgeon, are we sticking to the bottle afterwards? That is a key factor for post-op, because if the answer is no, I want them on the cup, you want to start practicing before their surgery. You also want to record your baby's cry and their laugh. Their voice is going to change. I didn't know that. It just changes. It doesn't get deeper or softer, or it will change. And as moms, we're going to notice that right away. I never want another mom to go through the experience that I went through for Ryan's palate repair. You're not alone. It's okay to be scared, nervous, overwhelmed, blame yourself. But you're so much stronger than any other mom out there. You really are. God chose your child because they're special enough to have 2 smiles. God chose your child because you were strong enough to handle this. And on the days you're not strong enough, come to me. Come to a fellow Cleft mom. We will listen. We will understand, undeniably, 100%, even if our child has not gone through that surgery or does not have that same cleft type. Any other Cleft mom will be there for you. I promise you that. That's what I focus on. That's my key. That's what I do. It's not just a Facebook group to me. It is my life's passion. And so many families that I've interacted with have also taken on that passion. So please remember that you have other shoulders to lean on. If you are on Facebook and you need that support, you can look me up, send me a message. I saw you on CleftCon. Can we be friends? You were amazing. You made me cry. I hope I didn't make anybody cry. I'm extremely emotional and I'm a huge hugger. Go to Facebook and search for a Cleft Mommy's Bond of Friendship, etc. Or Lisa Wislick, and reach out and I'll respond with hugs every step of the way. It's a Cleft journey. It's a roller coaster of emotions. It's entering a Cleft community of love, support, and friendship forever. I am so grateful to have so many families that I've met in person and who are there every single day. And if somebody comes in and says, we're having this surgery or this happened, I can think in my head, oh, this mom just did this, and tag that mom and say, Mom, what happened with your little one? And there you go. Incredible moms and incredible families. And I wish I could have hundreds of them, but we don't have enough time. So I am also sharing tips and advice and photos from fellow moms in the Cleft Mommy's Bond of Friendship who I love so much and whose babies I love so much. I thank you. I thank all the moms and all the families who have made me an honorary auntie. And I wish you love and luck on your journey. Thank you. lot of resources for you. A lot of years, a lot of moms put these together. We have what to pack when you're going to the hospital for surgery. It's a list that can be found on the CleftCon site, but a lot of things on there are for moms, what should you wear, snacks, coins for the vending machine, for baby, their favorite toy, maybe your wagon, stroller, their formula, if you need that. We also have a post-op foods list. And on this list, you're going to see a lot of foods that are for like older kids, but there's also the liquids and the soft foods for babies post-op. It does vary from surgery to surgery and surgeon to surgeon. So you do want to find out from your surgeon exactly what the post-op recommendations are. These are just some ideas that you can have. And the biggest thing that we have is a lot of times when moms are expecting, they actually get to meet their cleft surgeon or the cleft team before the baby is born, if they know about the baby's cleft, which is prime. Sometimes you don't. Regardless, this list of questions is for that initial meeting with your surgeon. I highly recommend that you print this out and have it written down, because that first meeting is going to be so overwhelming. Your baby might need to be fed, might be fussy, changed. Take somebody else with you so you can hand baby off and you can actually talk to the doctor, listen, ask those questions, write down the answers, or even ask the surgeon, do you mind if I record this because I'm not going to remember everything later. All of this is on CleftCon's website. Thank you so much for joining us this year. It's been my absolute pleasure. Thank you.